Super Mario Land is a 1989 side-scrolling platform video game, developed and published by Nintendo as a launch title for Mario Land. Sold quite well when it was released, probably because it was 1. Mario, and 2. Portable Mario. I mean, can you imagine? It's Fat Video Game Man, but he's on a screen the size of a nickel! But like Mario 2 before it, Mario Land was filled with scenery, plot elements, and gameplay that was barely similar to the originals. And while many of Mario 2's oddities eventually assimilated into the series canon, most of Mario Land's did not. So that's why I'm here, to discover why the... I hate these introductory segue sentences. I hate them. I hate writing them and I hate saying them. Let's just start. Let's go. Come on. The phrase that comes to mind when I ask myself to describe Mario Land as a whole is not quite right. Not right in this context doesn't necessarily mean not good, because I love the odd inclusions like the Sphinxes and the Easter Island heads. I'm more talking about how the game feels, for a Mario game, slightly off. Everybody talks about the exploding Koopas, the shmup stages, and the previously mentioned Easter Island heads, but it's also things like the control. Mario's movement definitely feels off in Mario Land. If my old Uncle Adams was still with us, he'd probably say that moving Mario in this game is like driving a tennis shoe through a wind tunnel. But Uncle Adams was a senile asshole who ruined every Christmas, and I'm glad he's dead. Okay, for one thing, the jump height is shorter. Now, I'm sure this was to accommodate for the smaller screen size, but it means that in 90% of situations, your jump is useless unless you're running. As soon as Mario reaches the apex of his jump, he will sink like a stone. This, combined with Mario's new speediness, means that slipping off ledges and dying happens often enough to warrant me mentioning it right now. And on the subject of momentum, well, it's entirely absent from this game. Mario stops on a dime. This means you're gonna have to be more accurate when it comes to landing, as you can't rely on Mario's forward glide to close the distance between you and a platform. It also means that sliding is impossible. Oh, that really sucks, man. Oh. Another thing that really grinds Grimeers is how long it takes to change direction in midair. Feels like it takes a full second to get moving. You'll press back, and Mario will be like... Oh, did you want to move? Overall, controlling Mario in Mario Land isn't quite up to par with what came before or after. It's not bad by any means, it's just not as buttery as I'd like it to be. It's flexible enough to let me do this, but not this. Okay, you can stop now. You don't... I've demonstrated that you can't go through there, you can stop. Okay, stop jumping. Stop jumping! With all that bullshit being said, it's time to talk about the level design. Okay, the levels are about as long as those found in the first game, but there's a lot less of them. Only 4 worlds instead of 8 this time, and only 3 levels instead of 4 in each of them. But for a portable game without a save feature of any kind, this change makes sense. They have a very start and stop feel. Unless you're a speedrunner, you're really not going to be able to zip through them like you could in 1 or 3. There's a fair bit of waiting. Waiting for platforms to come closer, waiting for rocks to fall, waiting for Amazon to deliver your new Game Boy after you drop the old one in the garage. I wouldn't single out any one level from this game as bad, but I wouldn't do the opposite either. None of them really stand out enough for me to think of them as particularly bad or good, except for the flying stages, of course. Those I remember, and those I enjoyed. They're about as basic as can be, in terms of shmup levels, but they're a nice diversion from the platforming. You fight an alien and a seahorse. The other bosses aren't much to write home about. This guy throws rocks. But considering the hardware this was on, I can't say I was expecting much more. I mean, it's one of the first Game Boy games. What else can you really do? I guess you could have had a stupid light gun segment where you move a reticle around and try to shoot Goombas. Like Faceball 2000. Actually, instead of bosses, they should have just included a Game Boy emulator inside the cartridge with a ROM of Faceball 2000. And instead of bosses, you just have to play through Faceball 2000 in its entirety at the end of each world. How about the non-boss bad guys? Let's list them off. There's weird Koopas, weird Goombas, snakes, chickens, bugs, spear bugs, spiders, head-throwing robots, bullet-spitting flowers, flying moai heads, piranha plants, bullet bills, tiny sphinxes, jumping vampires, jumping seahorses, jumping dead fish, swimming alive fish, octopi, evil planes, and fists. Fists that only appear in one spot in the entire game, right outside the final boss room. For a game this short, it's impressive how much enemy variety they were able to cram in. And due to the condensed screen size, it feels like you're really forced to deal with them more often, unlike in most other 2D Mario games where you can usually find ways to completely bypass them. But even with all those enemies at its disposal, the game never really gets too close to what I'd call difficult. I mean, yeah, you'll take damage fairly often, but you can just run through it and find a mushroom pretty easily. I mean, that's it right there. Mario Land's easiness makes its flaws seem like not that big a deal. Mario Land is so easy that if you disable the D-pad and buttons and let the game just sit there for half an hour, it will somehow beat itself by the time you get back. Had the game been more frustrating, I'd probably go on way longer about my dissatisfaction with the controls, but... well, actually, I did spend a lot of time on them. How much of this video did I spend talking about the controls? Holy shit! The game's certainly a lot less fun in hard mode, which you unlock after beating the game normally. It's basically just the normal game with twice the enemies. Feels like a ROM hack. And if you beat that, you unlock the glorious level select, which I guess is useful if you really fucking loved World 3 too. And I mean, yeah, that's all I really gotta say about Mario Land. I guess I could talk about the presentation, which is great. The graphics do a wonderful job of representing familiar Mario elements in bite-sized form, as well as all the new weirdness. Do you know how long it took for me to say that last part? As well as all the new weirdness. It's... record yourself trying to say as well as all the new weirdness and post it to Twitter with the hashtag Billy McChucks funny video. And with the limitations they had, it's impressive how appealing the artists were able to get this game looking. It looks really cute. And the sound's great too. I mean, the music is absolutely stellar. But so are the sound effects. I remember being really fond of this game as a kid, and I realize now that it was because the sound effects make everything you do feel so satisfying. It's surprising that the only piece from this game that's made it into Smash Bros. Is the underground theme, because the rest of the soundtrack's fantastic too. Yep. Alright. Look, I'm gonna use this now, okay? I'm only gonna do it once, I only have one of these, but I really need it now. Thanks. Mario Land. It's basic, but not bad. It just might be the perfect starter Mario game, and was probably the perfect launch title for the Game Boy. A short-shot, simple platformer that, gameplay-wise, is Mario in its most undiluted form. Except... the flowers are whack. They're definitely diluted. Overall, it's still a fine little game that won't blow your mind, but won't bore your mind. Whatever. The sequel's better. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, you can click like and that will help me out in the algorithm. And if you want more bullshit, you can subscribe and follow me on Twitter. The link's down below. Also down below, I will put a long-ass comment explaining where I've been. Also in the description, there's an unfinished video from 2 years ago. I want to keep this short.